Wide receiver help is on the way for the Bills, but do they need to do more? See what I did there? If last night was an NBA Finals preview, San Antonio better start planning that parade. And we've reached max levels of drama in Vegas. We'll tell you about it. Yahoo Sports Daily starts right now. He's Jay Busbee. I'm Jason Fitz. For the next 2 hours, we are racked, stacked, and packed for Yahoo Sports Daily, coming at you from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Jay in for Caroline Fenton again today. Jay, look, I appreciate you coming back. I had such a good time that we could come back today and do it again. We got a lot we're going to get to, but let's start with the best rivalry, some would say, in all of sports. That's right. We have it this weekend, even if people don't seem to realize it as much as usual. Duke, North Carolina, this weekend coming up. But it's funny because Duke's the number one team in the country, Busby. Like, Duke is this sort of, they're on this platform. They have the biggest spot in all the land. And I'm looking around saying, where's the yelling and screaming of I can't wait for UNC Duke? A matchup between ranked teams with number one Duke. It feels like we should be wildly over our skis for this.
Well, I'm going to start off by taking issue with the whole number one rivalry in sports thing. I mean, I wrote a book on a certain other rivalry, Auburn, Alabama, that has a claim to the title. But let's focus on this one here. Duke absolutely has the claim to the number one seed. They're going to be one of the number one seeds in the tournament. The fact that this game itself doesn't make a whole lot of difference in the overall NCAA tournament standings, that doesn't matter to the people that are involved. To the people that are involved, this is a blood feud every single game. These teams could be both out of the tournament already, and they would hate each other, and they would have a hell of an environment at Cameron.
You're right, and this is where I have to check myself sometimes because you and I both work a lot around college football. You mentioned it. I made people mad this year when I was like, yeah, the game doesn't really matter anymore. Like Michigan versus Ohio State doesn't really matter in college football. I get it. Rivalries have become less and less present because of the way sports have changed. But you're right. This one does hit different. This one does mean so much. This is a North Carolina team that already beat Duke once. They shocked Duke earlier this season. They are undefeated at home. Like this is on the cusp of what could be a very cool season for North Carolina. And at the same time, I'm watching a Duke team that's number one in all the land. So certainly when I say we're not over our skis for it, I'm not talking about diehard North Carolina Duke fans because for everybody that's in Carolina, in the Carolinas, this just hits different. It resonates. It's the thing that they're going to be talking about at the local diner for the rest of the year, especially no matter what happens this year. If North Carolina sweeps Duke, even if Duke wins the Natty, North Carolina fans will still sit there and say, yeah, but you couldn't beat us, right? Like, so there is certainly skin in the game. I think what has to happen, though, is, or what hasn't happened so far, I should say, for Duke, is some level of villainization. I'm gonna throw myself under the bus here, Busby. I grew up in an era loving UNLV basketball, right? I grew up in Vegas as a kid. I have one VHS tape from my entire life growing up. It says 103.73 on the side of it from when Duke beat, or from when UNLV beat Duke for a natty, right? Like, I remember where I was the next year as a kid, crying, sobbing uncontrollably when Duke beat UNLV in the Final Four. I don't think that there's any team in all of sports that I hate more than Duke basketball. I have to say that because I'm part of that group that grew up from a generation having this visceral, emotional reaction to Duke basketball. This current version of Duke doesn't have that same visceral, emotional reaction. They don't have a Grayson Allen or a J.J. Redick or somebody that we're screaming about. Coach K is not nearly the same sort of villain to most people that Shire is on the sidelines for Duke. It feels like, weirdly, I can't believe I'm saying, straight 80s wrestling turn here, right? Like, he went from being Macho Man the bad guy, Macho Man the heel, to Macho Man the baby face. Like, suddenly I feel like people are turning around and they actually like this Duke team. So maybe part of the reason we don't have the same level of venom coming into this matchup is because there isn't just a bunch of people that just sit back and say, hey, I don't really give a damn about this game one way or the other. I just love seeing Duke lose. That doesn't seem to exist right now.
I don't know. I think we got to get you out of your bubble, my friend, because if you ask the entire country, if you said Duke versus Team X, which team do you take? And you could put any team in that Team X, Kansas, Arizona, William and Mary, whoever it might be, almost everybody that's not clad in blue is going to be going for Team X, whoever it might be. I think it's still the issue. You hit on it right there. The personalities are not the same. You don't have a Bobby Hurley or a Christian Laettner or a Coach K or any of the other players that you mentioned to just hate, man, to just really dig in and hate them. And if you don't have those personalities, then you're just kind of hating the institution of Duke. And that's a little bit tougher to do than to focus all your hate on one individual. I think that once we get going in the tournament, once Duke starts winning a couple of series and people start seeing, oh, wait a second, the Blue Devils are back. Yeah, I think that all that latent hate is going to resurface like flowers blooming after winter.
I'm going to take one name you just mentioned, though, and spin it to a reason why maybe we don't pay as much negative attention to Duke, and it's Hurley, the other Hurley. Like, because I'm watching a head coach at UConn that has embraced the villain element. I feel like in some ways UConn overall has embraced, whether it's because Hurley as a coach is just so loud and so just eye roll obnoxious so often. I feel like that villain role that for a while we sort of gave to Coach K now instead belongs to that man. And maybe some of that has taken some of the spice off of Duke for me because, I mean, full transparency, again, I live in Connecticut, so I hear it all the time. But good Lord, the way Hurley is sort of demonized by so many people around college basketball feels like it has replaced the villain role that was so filled for so long by Coach K and Duke.
You need somebody to push against, and Hurley has absolutely filled that role now. Now, Coach K, he was the kind of guy that you hated him because he won so much. And that was the problem with Duke, is that if they keep winning, you find ways to hate them. Hurley's the same way. UConn is the same way. They win so much that you're frustrated, but you also can't beat them. And that's a terrible place to be in if you're a hater.
You're right. It's like the hate us because they ain't us sort of thing is actually real. And we talked a little bit about this earlier this week when we were talking about Shohei and his ability to just become larger than life all over the world. And one point I made at the time is that, you know, if you look at American sports, we want you to be so successful that eventually you get dragged, right? Like, we want everybody to be so successful that you love them in the rise, and then eventually people find a reason to no longer love them. I watched it happen with Golden State. Like, we all remember when Golden State didn't really matter, and then everybody fell in love with Curry and Golden State, but then all of a sudden KD goes there, and now they're villains. Now you have a reason to love or hate. The LeBron conversation is so twisted around love or hate. The Hurley conversation, the UConn conversation is so twisted around love or hate. For a generation, Duke was that, and maybe North Carolina was to a certain extent, but Duke was that because Coach K had such unparalleled success. Hell, we watch on Saturdays. It's two guys that cover a lot of college football. I think it's alarming that we've gone from Nick Saban being the biggest villain in college football to all of a sudden Nick Saban being the pawpaw that everybody wants to hug at the Thanksgiving table while he's on game day. Like, this is the transition that's happening in front of our eyes, Busbee.
Exactly. Yeah, when you have that, Kansas City Chiefs are another example of a team that, oh, look at this young, sprightly Patrick Mahomes. He's stepping in, he's taking on the evil Tom Brady, and then 3 seasons later, it's like, oh my God, the Chiefs again. So yes, we want them to win up to a certain point, and then we want them to step aside. But they generally, it doesn't work that way.
I feel like there's going to be some element of Duke winning a national championship that will rekindle all of those. So, like, that just brings everybody back to the, oh, my God, here we go again. Now, in credit, I've given Shire a lot of credit. Replacing the man is impossible to do, and he's done it seamlessly. This game will be at Cameron Indoor. In your mind, Cameron Indoor, toughest atmosphere, toughest home field advantage in all of sports?
It is up there, definitely, man. When you've got students camping out for 6 weeks ahead of time, obviously they're not staying out there the entire time. But when you've got that kind of intensity, and college basketball, always, you have the fans right there over your head. If you're working press, you have these fans looking over and reading what you're writing on your laptop, so you have to be very careful. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly up there. Allen Fieldhouse, another one that's one of the ones that's often mentioned as a tough place to play, just because of the volume, the intensity, and the way that the seating is. It makes it very, very tough if you're from out of town.
It's interesting to me because, look, I'm just throwing out all my Duke hot takes this morning. It's fine. Cameron's fine. I was lucky enough to be at the Zion Duke North Carolina shoe blowout game. I was lucky enough to be there covering it at the time for ESPN. And we were sitting up in the rafters. We did not have particularly low, deep, good seats, but we were sitting up in the rafters. And I kept looking around thinking, this is cool. But one thing that I think is beautiful about college basketball, beautiful about college sports, the reason that as much as the NFL is my favorite sport in the world, but my favorite sports to cover are college sports. And part of the reason is what you see right there. Like, you just don't capture this environment other ways. Like, you have literally written a book about Alabama Auburn, and every single Saturday, what I love watching those games for is not just for the players on the field. In fact, it's more often it's for Surrender Cobra. You look at this shot that we get right here of a Duke matchup, and all of a sudden you're reminded that what makes college basketball visually beautiful to watch isn't the game. It's the people around the game. It's the fans. It's the student section. Like, Michigan State can be a painful basketball team to watch sometimes when they can't shoot, but the Izzone is always a delight to watch, right? Like, there's just something about watching this game at Cameron because of the access, the proximity there, the hands coming out, almost touching everybody. That is a magical moment. I don't think it necessarily has this cachet that's untouchable, but I do think that it's a reminder that the best college basketball environments are better than any other basketball environment you can find in any other league.
The NBA, the NFL would love to have that kind of passion among its fan base. There's something about being a young, stupid college student that just, and I say that with absolute affection, that leads to you painting yourself, dressing up, camping out for 6 weeks ahead of time. It's perfect. It's why we love college sports, because we're all looking at them like, kind of wish we were still back there in that era. And so it's fun to see that stuff put together all at once in one environment. Cameron Indoor is one of the best examples of it, and it's going to be a tremendous weekend. No matter what, no matter how the game goes, it's going to be a tremendous environment, and it's a great kickoff to the NCAA tournament season.
Yeah, I don't know how professional sports can ever capture the same moment, because, to your point, Busby, it's impossible for, most professionals to just take 6 weeks off and camp out to get into a game. It's different. The entire perspective is different on it. But boy, it's what makes this particular matchup is always so incredible, because you know what it means to the players, you know what it means to the coaches, you know what it means to the alumni, but you feel what it means from every person in the arena the minute the broadcast starts. Just listening to the broadcasters try and scream over each other because of the absolute chaotic noise is one of the most infectious things you can have in sports. So when we get the headline, when it's all said and done, what's the big headline we get out of this game?
Yeah, Duke is rolling. Duke is gonna roll over Carolina. They're gonna right the past wrongs from earlier this season. They're gonna roll into the tournament as the number one seed, and they are gonna remind everybody that, hey, Duke is still around. A little bit of a change of personnel, but Duke is still here, and Duke is still the favorite.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think this is going to be a slaughter for Duke, and I think revenge is on the mind. Home court's on the mind. Also, North Carolina. Obviously, without Caleb, that's going to make a big difference in this game. We presume he won't play. So they're a little shorthanded coming into it. This is not a statement about North Carolina. It's a statement about Duke. And look, I think we can accept two things this year with the college basketball season. I think we've got unparalleled number of teams that can actually win a national championship. There are so many teams on any given night that can take this Duke team or any number one team down. We've seen that. It's one of the magical things about this season. That being said, I do believe that we'll be reminded just how great, obviously, Duke is. You see there, Hubert Davis says there's a chance Caleb could play on Saturday, depending on the next couple of days go of practice. Nothing is definitive. He hasn't played since February 10th. It's a big, big difference in the outcome in this game, depending on whether or not, obviously, their phenom can be on the court. I don't expect you also got to measure everything here. As much Busby as we love the idea of him playing, I just got to stress that the season will not just be defined by what happens on Saturday for Duke, North Carolina. North Carolina also number 17 team in the country. They've got a real shot at a deep run in this playoff. They've got to remember that when it comes to the decision of whether or not to play Caleb.
They want to get to that 4 seed. You don't want to be in that 5-12 seed area. You want to be in a position where the higher up you are, the less chance there is for some miracle team to have the tournament game of their lives and upset you. So the further up that they can get, they want to stack their achievements. They want to get their accolades as high as they can. But then by the same token, you don't want to jeopardize your future long-term by playing a player who's not quite 100% ready. So, it's a balancing act for Carolina. Both teams are going to be fine tournament-wise coming out of this game. This is, like we've said, more for reputation, more for momentum, more for bragging rights over the next 365 or so days. But this is going to be, it's another installment of a classic American rivalry. How can you not love that?
Yeah, this is a reminder of everything that's great about college basketball, and it's the perfect game to get us all hyped up for conference tournaments, NCAA tournament action, which, by the way, we've got you covered on the Yahoo Sports Network across everything that we do. You will see plenty of greatness from our coverage, as we'll get you caught up on everything you need to know for both the men's and women's brackets. In the meantime, we don't have to wait till next week for massive moves in the NFL. We got one yesterday. The question is, what does it mean? DJ Moore is headed to Buffalo. Do they have more work to do? We'll tell you about it next.
Well, one of the things, too, that keeps coming up, I keep hearing, and it kept coming up in response to my story after the hearing and during the hearing, is, hey, why doesn't he just go pro? Imagine being a college kid and making $5 million plus.
It's pretty easy. It's just money, guys. It's guaranteed money. This is probably, for most of these individuals, the last time they can make this much money playing the sport.
How can I sit here in one breath and say the sport is broken when it looks like the audience is more pleased with the sport than ever?
It's not broke. It's just we've been drinking out of a fire hose for 3 years. But it can't just be pay them, kick them off the team, next guy, next team. I worry about these kids' long-term health and what they're going to do with their lives when they're 26 and 27, when they have no roots at any university.
James Rodriguez is reportedly joining Minnesota United. The main thing, as a fan of the league, I would just be excited to see him play. And then Minnesota against NYCFC, get to go see James. And what if that game is at Citi Field, bro? Queens is going to lose their mind.
It's going to go nuts. Astoria and Jackson Heights will be empty. There will be 3 Uruguayans, 4 Argentinians, and 6 Mexicans in all of Jackson Heights going, what the hell's going on? Where is everybody?
Admittedly, I'm a huge fan of Travis Hunter as a prospect. Do you have any sense of what his growth is going to be like, where he might be playing more and more, what his role is going to look like, especially on the offensive side?
The way he is, his personality, I think this injury in his rookie year is only going to just make him better. He was starting to really get going on offense, and we were starting to click. So who knows what the rep count looks like, but I know he's a special receiver when he gets the ball in his hands.
The breaking news we got yesterday, the Bears and Bills finalizing a trade that sends DJ Moore to Buffalo per Adam Schefter. The compensation looks like it turns out to be a 5th rounder and DJ Moore for the Bills' 2nd round pick. So all of a sudden, after years of sitting here wondering when were the Bills going to get a wide receiver option for Josh Allen, this is the option they've chosen. It's not without its own set of, let's say, not controversy, but doubters. Let's say it that way, Jay, because there are some doubters about trading for a wide receiver that's 28. He'll be 29 when the season begins. He has a $28.5 million cap hit for the next couple of years. They've guaranteed some money. That means he's going to be paid for the next several years. He's locked into the Bills. That's a lot of money for DJ Moore. How do we feel about this with Josh Allen?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they had to make this big swing because that was their problem last year. That's been their problem for a while, that Josh Allen hasn't had that number one receiver to throw to. And he obviously instantly becomes wide receiver number one. And does he advance to the level of top first-round draft pick in fantasy? I don't know about that. But I do think that it gives the Bills an added depth advantage that they absolutely needed at the wide receiver position. They needed more deep threats, and that's what they've got right now.
I don't want to feel like a hater, and that's always a dangerous spot to be in here. I think DJ Moore is a really good player. I do believe DJ Moore is a really good player. He's coming off of a year where we could say it's because of his relationship with Caleb, or we can say it's because it wasn't a fit in Ben Johnson's offense. Either way, he's coming off a year where he had 50 catches for 682 yards. Those are pretty paltry numbers compared to what we expect for a wide receiver paid at that level. So I think part of this production versus payment is a little concerning to me. Also, like, I'll dumb it down to the simplest way I think a lot of us can think about it. When your favorite team, whatever your favorite team is for anyone watching, when your favorite team starts the week and you look at who they're about to play, how often have you sat there and said, oh my God, we have to figure out a way to slow down DJ Moore? Like, whether it's with the Panthers or with the Bears, how often have we said, any of us as fans said, man, I don't know about that matchup. Man, they got DJ. Whew. Like, that's what we say about Jackson Smith-Njigba. That's what we say about Jamar. That's what people have said at different times about A.J. Brown, right? That's what we say about the best of the best. At his age and his cap number, he's not in that category to me. So, yes, they get a good wide receiver. I think DJ Moore is a good wide receiver. I just don't think they get a transcendent, epic wide receiver. And I do believe that they gave up enough value and they're paying him enough that, to me, you can get somebody better at that. I don't want to sound like I'm downplaying DJ Moore here, because I think DJ Moore is a good player. Like, we need a word for guys like this. I just think he's only a good player, Jay. I don't think he's a transcendent, oh my God, top of the league player that changes the entire trajectory of the AFC East.
Yeah, I agree with on that. I guess the question is that player available? Is that player viable? And my counterpoint to your idea of oh my God, we've got to face DJ Moore, or I'm not particularly worried about that, is he's got Josh Allen throwing to him. That's the one that you worry about. You might worry about JSN. You might not worry so much about Sam Darnold. So as long as you've got Josh Allen to level things up there, I think it could potentially unlock more out of DJ Moore, so to speak, and we'll see where it goes from there. But you're right. It's not the kind of home run signing, but they didn't need a home run. They needed just to get on base, to mix our sports metaphors here. The Bills needed just something to get their air attack back to where it needs to be, being still in the prime of Josh Allen.
I agree. I feel like we saw the Bills tell us at the end of the season that the standard needed to change, right? So now let's look at what that standard is, okay? So all of a sudden, what we have here is we have a team that said, you know what, we're going to make change so that we can go to the next level. If I tell you the next level is firing Sean McDermott and bringing in DJ Moore, that doesn't change the way I power rank the entire AFC. I get it. Like, there's all these different reasons, and I see it here, put him with Josh Allen. But also, again, if I'm being fair, DJ Moore is somebody that was just being coached by somebody that is considered to be one of the great offensive minds of his entire generation, right? Like, we talk about Ben Johnson. Like, Ben Johnson is just shy of walking on water when it comes to offensive mindset. So even if he didn't mesh with Caleb, I'm looking at a great offensive coach that couldn't figure out how to maximize the greatness of that player, which would be an issue to me. So now he goes to Buffalo, where we have a head coach that we have no idea if he's going to be a great head coach or not, with an offensive coordinator that we have no idea if he's really a great offensive coordinator. We just know Josh Allen rocks. So, like, hey, this is a better wide receiver for Josh Allen, so we're going to presume it works out. I get it, Busby. I think it makes sense. It doesn't change the way I feel about the Bills. Like, I think the Bills made a really good move, but if I was making a Bills report card a week ago versus a Bills report card today, I don't know that I would judge the team as vastly different.
That's fair. The Bills have lost all the benefit of the doubt. Okay, they're still very much in their Super Bowl window. They still very much could finally lift that Lombardi a year from now, but they have lost all benefit of the doubt in terms of, well, maybe things will work out. Maybe this is the one to do it. Maybe this will take them over the top. They have had so many chances, so many opportunities to come through and have not come through. So they've lost all that grace period that they might otherwise have had. They're very much in a prove-it situation. Teams like, I don't know, Denver would have a little bit more, we'll see how they go. We're not quite sure what we've got with Denver yet. We know what we have with Buffalo, and so they've got to deliver. They have no more excuses, no more outs. We know they're capable of this. It's up to them to live up to their potential.
I also think, if I'm being fair with the Bills, I've said repeatedly, I don't think the Bills were necessarily in need of something massive. I just think things haven't broken their way. Nobody wants to hear luck, but DJ Moore and Sean McDermott aren't suddenly stopping Patrick Mahomes with 12 seconds to go in a game, right? Like, that's just right. I hate to keep bringing it back to one of the most painful losses they've ever endured, but I also don't think I watched a playoff loss this last playoffs and thought, man, you know what they needed? DJ Moore. I'm not sure that the Bills need any one thing more than they just need to finally get that year where they get over the hump, where they get a little bit of luck. They get some opportunity to turn around and figure it out. It's just feels I'm not sure this is the big swing that we want to make this swing, especially when you look at the fact that now they're in a division where I'm not sure that the Patriots are sustainably a great football team either, but certainly the Patriots put themselves in a different perception coming into this offseason. They also need a wide receiver. So to you, when you see the Patriots, from the Patriots standpoint, when you see the Bills making the moves they make, does it mean that in your mind New England needs to turn around and be more aggressive this offseason?
Yeah, absolutely. We talked yesterday about Stephon Diggs getting cut loose. The Patriots have to increase their receiver room. They have to strengthen. They have to give Drake May more people to throw to. That's the kind of thing where New England is right on that sort of tipping point where they could use what happened this year as a foundation to move forward, or they could level off. I mean, I think they exceeded all expectations, except for the most rabid Patriots fans. They exceeded all expectations for where they got this year, all the way into the Super Bowl. And so how are they going to follow that up next year? And I think that starting with the receiving room, making Drake May comfortable, giving him some targets, I think that's what you've got to do. The Patriots kind of, punched Buffalo in the mouth this year. Buffalo had 5 straight years of winning the division. They had it locked down. They felt good about how they were going, but then they let the Patriots sneak back into it before they got that Super Bowl. And so, yeah, it's going to be a fun AFC battle here. Sadly for New York and Miami, I think it's going to be a 2-horse race. But yeah, the Patriots make things a lot more interesting, but the Patriots also have work to do themselves if they want to keep to this level.
Yeah, that's the interesting part of it. You mentioned the Dolphins and the Jets. Let's just acknowledge the Patriots and the Bills, if they just live up to the baseline expectation, they start next year with 4 wins, right? They both should be capable of sweeping the Dolphins and the Jets. So they start with 4 wins. That puts you way ahead in trying to get to the win total that we look at and see as a successful football team. There is a difference, though, between being a winning team and being a good team. I say this all the time. There's a difference between being a playoff team and a good team. The Patriots won a lot of games, and the Patriots this year had a good season, a very good season. I think the cautionary tale for all of us as we go back to Washington a year ago had the same thing. People around the Washington organization would tell you a year ago that they understood that they were ahead of their skis. I think that's the same for the Patriots this year. They understand organizationally, hey, we won a lot of games, but we still have a lot of work to get to be consistently a 12-win team, right? The Bills are consistently already a 12-win team. Like, I'm talking about the Bills like they're broken in a year because they went 12-5, and that felt like a disappointment, right? That shows you how good the Bills are. I think the urgency we feel with Buffalo is combined with the fact that Josh Allen is Josh Allen, and combined with the fact that now we've seen a leap from Drake May and the Patriots, Mike Vrabel, Josh McDaniels. It feels like the core pieces in New England are going to provide a bigger threat. So now all of a sudden we're pressing a little bit with the Bills. It's like, hey, the Bills are going to have to do something. I do think the expectations will be higher for the Bills coming into this season than they are for the Patriots. I think the Bills have a chance to be a better football team. But the more things that the Bills do, the more the Patriots do, in my mind, Busby, have to turn around and look at it and say, okay, we need to remain aggressive. Drake May is good. We need to make sure Drake May becomes epic. And for that to happen, he needs weapons around him.
Agreed. And the Patriots got real fat and happy on a very weak schedule. You go back and look at their schedule from last year. You can't blame them for having an easy schedule. They took full advantage of it. But then what happens when they face tougher competition? So that's what's going to be fun to see, is how the Patriots meet this added level of challenge, and how the Bills kind of reconcile the fact that they had a wide open highway. They didn't have Lamar Jackson in the way. They didn't have Patrick Mahomes in the way. They didn't have Joe Burrow in the way. They had this wide open lane in the 2025 playoffs, and they let it get away from them. So that's going to be the remainders of the 2025 season for both teams. How they handle what they did in the postseason is going to be an interesting ramifications for what that has for 2026.
God, you're so right. The Patriots got to figure out how to handle success, and the Bills have to figure out how to handle yet another failure. The league week starts next year. The league year starts next week. I'll learn how to speak. In the meantime, we have a massive weekend coming up of all sorts of different events. We'll break it down with Kendall Baker. We'll figure out what we can't wait for coming up next.
What is the process as a receiver winning against zone coverage? Is it more settling down? Is it finding holes? Walk us through the process there.
So like the first thing that you want to look at is those safeties, right? So then you just look at your triangle. So I go safeties to nickel backer or nickel or backer, and then out to that corner. Is it going to be cover 2? Are they showing 3 right now because they're going to roll into 2? Are those safeties low? Just seeing those subtleties are really what makes you a really good zone player.
You don't want to get ahead of yourself when you think that he's going to come and be a game changer. He's more of a managerial type that can operate at a high level. I've made the comparison to Jared Goff in terms of how he'll play the game within the right system. The best thing that has happened to Fernando Mendoza is Clint Kubiak bringing his system to the Las Vegas Raiders. And when surrounded by the right talent, he can have a lot of success.
We got the announcement that Floyd Mayweather will be taking on Manny Pacquiao in a rematch. People will watch, people will tune in, and I'm curious to see how it looks. Like, I think they're going to be around the same skill level if they both come in healthy. And I really think it is significant that Floyd Mayweather is putting the O on the line.
100%. How do you make the competitive balance the most even? I think Manny and Floyd at this stages in their life, that makes it fair and exciting. So I'm in on Mayweather Pacquiao too.
A little Saban for us because everybody loves Saban. So, give us your thoughts.
I knew that you were going to bring me in here and have me do Nick Saban for him.
Have you done Saban for Saban?
No, but I met him.
Okay.
And he didn't know that it was me. And he shook my hand, and I said, Coach, Joey Molinaro, so good to finally meet you, as if he would know who I was. And he just looked at me and goes, yeah, well, all right. Walked away.
Oh, look at that headshot right there. Kendall Baker, head of newsletters, big announcement. Congratulations to him as he continues to do great work with Yahoo Sports and now head of newsletters. He joins us right now. Congratulations, Kendall, on all the success. There's never a doubt of it. We're clapping contracts. So we want to take a look at what's coming up this weekend. We don't do weekend watch list. You handle that. But on this show, we love to have a segment that we call Can't Wait. And this is where we bring in the spirit of Bart Scott, right? So it's super simple. We lay something out, and we lay an event out this weekend, and we decide how excited for it everybody is. If it's a Bart, everybody can't wait. You just call it a Bart, and then you will hear this in your ear. Can't wait. See, Bart Scott telling us can't wait. What's the opposite of a Bart, though? An event on the calendar you're not really excited for, obviously, like Total Pros. The opposite of a Bart is a fart. You'll hear this sound. So we'll give you an event, and then we will figure out whether it is a Bart or a fart. Kendall, we will start where we started this show, and good sir, as our guest, you get the first call on this. North Carolina versus Duke. We started with this, one of the greatest rivalries in all of sports. Is this rivalry matchup for you coming up this weekend a Bart or a fart?
Oh, absolutely a Bart.
Can't wait.
It's a Bart every year, right? But this is a particularly good one. Duke is metrics-wise one of the best teams we've seen this century. I was looking at the stats this morning. Just crazy what they've been able to accomplish. One of their two losses is to UNC. This is one of those it's a Bart, and I don't really have to say much else.
Jay, I presume that you're on the Bart train for this one as well?
I am 100% on the Bart train as well.
Can't wait. Yeah, look, short of having Bart come on and just like pop into the camera and scream, this is like as can't wait as it can get. This is as Barty as let's double.
Wait.
We're gonna double Bart it. Give me one more.
Can't wait.
There we go. We got 4 Barts on this. That's how excited we are. All right, so let's stick in college basketball then and go to another one that is a massive rivalry on Sunday. Sparty hits the road to Ann Arbor. Top 10 matchup. Michigan State versus Michigan. Kendall, what say you, Bart or fart?
It's another Bart.
Can't wait.
These are hard to say anything otherwise. I think for me, the Duke-UNC game's a little bit more interesting. That's just me personally. But Michigan, going back to what I said about Duke being one of the best teams we've seen, not just this season, but in recent memory. Like, again, Michigan's kind of been the same thing. They had a bit of a scare last night against Iowa. Big Ten's tough league, but I think they're the first team in a long time to go undefeated on the road. So they've been incredible. This game's obviously in Ann Arbor, so the road record doesn't matter with that. But another great matchup. You mentioned top 10. I don't think people really maybe expected Michigan State to be this good. So, yeah, another great matchup for sure.
Busbee?
Yeah, I'm with Kendall. Even though I am in ACC country, I do lean more Duke Carolina as a rivalry in terms of intensity. But yeah, anytime you got two blood rivals, two in-state rivals going at each other, that's a guaranteed Bart right there.
Can't wait. Gentlemen. It's time for me to rain on everybody's parade.
There it is. It is.
This is a great rivalry, and I love this game. But this game itself is going to be a fart. And like the atmosphere is going to be a Bart, but the game itself, I go back to the first time these two teams met. Michigan won by 12. And it wasn't that close. So here's my thing with Michigan State. Michigan State 19-3. I've watched a lot of Sparty basketball this year. And the funny thing to me is, number one, they consistently cannot shoot from the outside. That is a concern. Number two, they go through long spells where they just turn the ball over rapidly. Now you're taking on a Michigan team that has length, that has arms that get out and they just disrupt on the perimeter. They have size issues that it doesn't feel like, as much as I love Carr and Michigan State and what he's capable of, he can't dominate inside that way against Michigan, at least couldn't the first time. I have a sneaking suspicion. I love this matchup. I just don't think it's going to be a very good game. I think Michigan's going to roll them. I hope I'm wrong. But I think this game turns out to be.
Well, let me ask you this, Jason. Just interesting follow up is: do you think this game is more likely for a blowout than Duke UNC? Because obviously UNC beat Duke first time around, but I could see Duke rolling UNC too.
No, yeah, I think you're right. I think
No?
Duke, you're right. By the time we get to the second half of Duke UNC, I think we're all going to be sitting.
I just don't think people can overstate how good Duke and Michigan are this season. I think it's like somehow an underrated storyline. They have been dominant. They really have.
That's a really good point by you, and we'll see some of that. Like, remember, Michigan State's a top 10 team. When you see the line of demarcation between being the top 3 or 4 this year versus the rest, it's pretty staggering. Let's go to the NBA. How about this? Jayson Tatum expected to return. Oh, we could be looking at tomorrow, or we could be looking at the Mavs game as the return. So Mavs versus Celtics. Does that become a Bart or a fart, Kendall?
I mean, you know me with this game. I got to use, I would say a Bart for everything because I just love sports. But I'm going to give this a fart just because, Cooper Flag is coming back from injury. Obviously, Tatum's coming back from injury. So, otherwise maybe this would have been a better game. The Mavs are just not a very good team right now. But I'm certainly intrigued to see what happens here for sure. And I would just like to use this opportunity to say that I found that Jayson Tatum returned, Jaylen Brown discourse to be kind of odd to me and sort of people pointing at like, how are they going to fit together and forgetting that they fit together quite well for a long time. So I'm not as intrigued to see just how are they going to make this work? I think they'll figure that out, but I'm very excited to see one of the best players in the NBA get back and see what he can do.
Yeah, I'm going to go for the same reason. I'm also going forward here, but for a very different reason. I'm in Atlanta. I am a Dominique Wilkins fan. I got a signed Dominique Sports Illustrated right behind me that you can't see. So I have a long-standing, decades-long bias against the Celtics. Wonderful team, but I still have to hate the organization. And the Mavs, I mean, come on. The Mavs are horrendous this year. From a pure basketball perspective, it's a total fart. From an idea of setting up the future, setting up the playoffs, yeah, it's going to be great to get Jayson Tatum back. But, yeah, I stick with fart.
Yeah, I'm with. I think the game itself is a fart. The highlights will be a part. Just watch the highlights of Tatum coming back. We'll all love that. And Kendall makes a very important point. I joke often. I'm old enough that I was doing radio when people were saying, "Well, you can't keep Brown and Tatum together and win a championship." Those takes look pretty stupid now. So we've got plenty of stupid takes out there. Let's stick in the NBA. All right, the Knicks. The Knicks have a stop in LA on the West Coast trip. Knicks, Lakers. Busby, we'll start with you on this one. Busby, Bart or fart, Knicks, Lakers?
I got to go fart just because it's the kind of game that I think there's potential there. I don't think we're going to see it develop. This is kind of a prove-it game for both teams. Both teams are kind of on, I'm not going to say the extent of fraud watch, but both of them have got to step up a little bit. Knicks had the opportunity earlier this week. The Lakers struggled as well, as we'll talk about later on. This is a game that in itself does not interest me all that much, but what it pretends could be a lot more interesting.
Kendall, what do you think?
Yeah, I'll say the same thing. Fart. I mean, it's a good game. I'll certainly be watching it. Buzzy brought in bias before, so I'm allowed to bring in my bias. I'm in New Jersey.
Absolutely.
If this was at Madison Square Garden, I'd be more pumped for it. How about that?
No, you're so right, though. You're 1,000% right. This game in Madison Square Garden would look and feel a lot different.
Yeah.
I mean, the funny thing is it's Knicks Lakers, so it's always going to be party, right? But the actual basketball is going to be farty, and that's the hard part about this. I don't think the Lakers are any good, like really good. The Lakers can have good nights, but the Lakers are not a good basketball team. The Knicks are wildly inconsistent. One night we're all in on the Knicks, and the next night we're all out on the Knicks. So I got an inconsistent team versus a team that I think is kind of a bad team. So, all right. Now I'll let the experts take over on this one because I am certainly not going to pretend to be an expert on golf. But we're going to go all across the world here. All right, we got a weekend at a signature event for the PGA, the Arnold Palmer Invitational. Kendall, I see heads nodding everywhere. Is this tournament a Bart or a fart, Kendall?
Oh, this is a Bart. I love this tournament every year. Great field, top 10s, totally in there. We're basically as golf fans on Scotty Scheffler watch. constantly now. So once again on Scottie Scheffler watch, but plenty of other guys, as we noted this morning in the newsletter, who've been off to hot starts this season. And yeah, this is just a great tournament every year. I feel like for the non-initiated, like this is up there with one of the more exciting events every year that golf fans really look at and enjoy watching. So I'll be watching this weekend for sure.
Yeah, I agree with
you
Kendall.
cover this.
Yeah, absolutely. If you call anything associated with Arnold Palmer a fart, I will come to your house with a 5-iron and I will take care of business. Because, beyond that, obviously, like Kendall said, it's a signature tournament. Scotty's in the mix right now. Daniel Berger is leading at -9. That's maybe not the most familiar name to a lot of people, but if Scottie Scheffler does what Scotty does, he will be storming up the leaderboard over the next couple of days, and he'll be right there in the mix on Sunday. Well worth watching. One of the better non-major events on the PGA Tour. Absolutely worth watching.
Okay. Here's the thing. I'm not a big
I didn't
golf
say
guy.
Bart. Oh, no. I didn't say Bart.
That's okay. They got you.
I'm sorry.
I'm the first to admit, gentlemen, that I'm not a big golf aficionado, as I've told the story on air before. I've been to Augusta twice and was offered the chance to play it and let my golf buddies do it. Like I'm just not a golf guy. But I do love me an Arnold Palmer. Like I like to drink. So as long as I can drink the drink while I watch the golf, I'm in. So you know what? I'll park this. I'll sit back and put some out of deference and respect to my guests, and also because mostly I'm just afraid that Busbee will show up at my house with a 5-iron, and I don't need that kind of smoke. So I'm in on it. How about some UFC fun? All right, there's a big UFC card for UFC 326. Max Holloway versus Charles Oliveira. What do we think, Kendall? Bart or a fart on this one?
Like this is tough. As you just mentioned, golf. Not the biggest golf fan. I will admit I'm not the biggest UFC fan. I mean, I certainly pay attention to the big ones. To me, I guess this is a good barometer for me as somebody who covers sports, but is more of a casual UFC fan. This fight isn't breaking through the way others would for me. Obviously, I know these names, and I'll be seeing what happens. But for me, this is a bit of a fart.
What do you think?
This is for the BMF title. My goodness, what could BMF stand for? I can't figure it out. Are we allowed to say it on these airwaves? Yeah, I'm with Kendall. I'm also a casual UFC guy. If this one isn't being held on the White House lawn, in the Rose Garden, in the Oval Office, I'm gonna give it a pass. I'm gonna go with fart on this one. But that is my bias, not a judgment on the event itself.
Look, I think matches, I think boxing and fighting matches in general are a lot like horror movies. Anytime you get sequels, boy, it's tough for it to live up to the original. Like the original can be good. The sequel is always a bit of a step back. I'm out. It's fart. And we'll see. We might end up with the most extraordinary ending of all time. But, as we sit right now, definitely a fart for me. All right, Kendall, let's get one more in. All right, Tyler Reddick looks to make it 4 in a row. 4 to open up the season in the Straight Talk Wireless 500. For anyone that doesn't know, that's Michael Jordan's driver. We've talked about this. Jordan, apparently a better driver owner, better NASCAR owner than an NBA owner. We've learned that. This race, Bart or fart for you, Kendall?
Oh, this is definitely a Bart. And I'm curious to hear Busbee because I know Busbee's the NASCAR guy. But I am very interested in watching this. I think you mentioned, Michael Jordan proven to be a better NASCAR owner, probably because he doesn't have to do much. And he has Denny Hamlin basically doing all the owner roles. He basically just writing checks. But anyway, I'm very interested in seeing this. Obviously, historic start. Can he go 4 for 4? That's pretty electric. I think it also makes for an easy entry for maybe non-fans or casual fans to just let me just see how this guy does. It sort of allows you to follow a narrative there. I'm also, as a media nerd, very curious to see, because there's been so much coverage of NASCAR because of Michael Jordan and because this three-peat, obviously it's been going on all season, but it sort of is reaching a high this week. Like, does that result in ratings, a ratings bump or anything? I'm just very curious to see what is the Michael Jordan effect on NASCAR. So far, there hasn't been much of one from a ratings perspective, but I feel like it's inevitable that it's coming. And maybe with all this coverage of the 3 for 3, could he go 4 for 4? That happens. So I'll be curious to see the ratings for this one. But yeah, I'll definitely be tuning in.
Yeah, I'm with Kendall on this one. 100% Bart here. Can't wait. Sound effect. There it is. And I think that it's the kind of thing where this is unprecedented what Tyler Reddick is doing. And I won't go deep into the NASCAR nerdery here, but he's got a great story himself. He's got a great story of triumphing over adversity. The whole NASCAR sport as a whole is trying to reinvent itself on the fly. It's like sort of like changing a tire during a race. And so far, things have broken NASCAR's way in terms of these wins and this visibility with Michael Jordan. So I would strongly doubt, just because of law of averages and the way that the sport is set up, that he will get 4 in a row. But the fact that we're even talking about it is a great sign for NASCAR. So definite Bart here.
Yeah, you guys are both right about that. And it makes it a Bart just because I think even if you don't know anything about NASCAR, the Jordan element of this has blown up in such an amazing and a beautiful way. Like, this is what you need. If you want to transcend, if you want to cross over into areas where your fans don't usually live, having somebody like Michael Jordan have the success and also be so plainly honest in interviews, what limited he does, about the fact that, like, he's just writing checks. I mean, he's giving credit to everybody else. I think the way Jordan's handled this, plus Jordan's exposure, plus the success, plus 3 in a row, frankly, I don't remember the last time I ever walked into a NASCAR event with the rooting interest. I have one for this. And that in and of itself speaks to what a part this entire event has become. Kendall, we always appreciate your time, your energy, and of course, the newsletter is incredible. Get out there, subscribe. It gives you everything that you need to watch every single day. You're doing great work. Congratulations on the continued success and the long-term partnership with Yahoo. We're all lucky that you're a teammate of ours. Follow him on social media at Kendall Baker. We appreciate you, my friend.
Thank you, guys. Have a great weekend.
I can't wait for Kendall every single week. It's part of the fun. All right, coming up, we had the matchup of the Millennium of the Year last night, and that man dominated. What's it mean for the finals? We'll tell you next.
Criticism like that from a coach. In the moment, how are you feeling when that's happening and the film's on screen?
Yeah, man, I think it's you listen more to the message and not the tone of the message. I mean, I think it's actually better to get called out than to not, because it shows not only like you're not worried about getting your feelings hurt. Like, they're not worried about hurting my feelings. And that's something I love about our coach. Like, he's not really worried about hurting your feelings. He's going to tell you, shoot it to you straight. And for me, like, I've always thrived under coaches that do that.
We are ranking the biggest robberies in MLS history. The players who looked at their team owners and said, thanks for the cash, and gave absolutely nothing in return. If your team is on this list, we are very, very sorry. Danielson, FC Dallas. His contract was for $879,000.
If you're watching this, look at his photo. He don't even look interested to be there in the photo.
With 10 appearances, he effectively got nearly $100,000 per game.
I'm sitting there watching Unreal, and they're talking about you in WWE at the Royal Rumble, just being thrown into the ring. You ever getting back in the ring for one of those opportunities again after that injury?
Man, I don't know. I mean, we got WrestleMania coming up, so you maybe see me in there, you maybe not. I'm just not trying to get beat up, but we'll see. We'll see. Like, I got beat up too much times. My body can't take that anymore.
Little teaser from the one and only Nate Diaz, unfinished business. And then he expanded on that on Twitter and said, I'll see you soon. I'm coming.
What about Dustin? Dustin versus Nate. Big fight. That could be a co-main or a main for a big fight card.
One that we always wanted to see.
One that Dustin has said, that'll get me out of retirement. The UFC could use him more than ever. They need stars now.
Anthony Edwards last night drives the lane and just full up, and away, go, gadget, legs, all of it in one as he launches over for one of the more dominant dunks we've seen in a minute. Busbee, that is just a reminder of the absolute incredible athleticism these guys have, climbing the invisible ladder and just doing that to somebody that's also a freak athlete, to me, is astounding.
I mean, I'm not that impressed. I did that to my son yesterday afternoon in the driveway. But, he did it on camera. So, I guess he gets a little bit more credit than I do.
5-foot rims don't count, brother. 5-foot rims don't count. That's what we tell him all the time. All right.
Wait a minute. I thought Nerf ball counted. Come on.
Yeah, I need a child's basketball. All right, somebody that absolutely can do that and more is Wemby. He didn't have a big dunk like that last night, but he had everything else. We walked into this game between the Pistons and the Spurs, expecting physicality, expecting this big statement matchup. The Pistons pride themselves on being old school. Would they beat up Wemby? And instead, you see the stat line there, 38, 16, and 5, and an absolute butt whooping by San Antonio, who just takes Detroit behind the shed and reminds them that one team is championship caliber and maybe the other team isn't. Like, to me, this was a statement win for San Antonio.
100%. I actually throw it back a couple of days when they had the 90s nostalgia game. You had Bob Costas and Doug Collins and Mike Fratello talking about Wemby, and these are guys who watch Jordan and Bird and Magic in their prime. They were talking about Wemby like he was some kind of natural phenomenon that they had never seen, which basically he is. So the way that he's able to play now, the fact that he's at the peak of his health, the peak of his powers right now, that's good news for San Antonio. That is bad news for everybody else in the league right now. 100% this was a statement win.
Yeah, and I keep going back to San Antonio has been, to a certain degree, some kryptonite for OKC. OKC can't stay healthy. All of these different things. Like, on any given – in a 7-game series, I don't know what teams are going to do to stop this man. Like, when you look at how far back he's shooting right there for a guy that size, there's no way you can close on him. There's just nothing you can do to stop the way that he can attack you. And that to me, over the course of a 7-game series, gets really interesting. I know San Antonio, we had high expectations on this show for Wemby. We had high expectations on this show for San Antonio. As the season gets deeper and deeper, I just keep thinking we're looking at a team that absolutely can win it all this year. Not next year. Like, the Spurs right now this year can hoist the Larry O'B to me.
The fact that they are meeting those expectations, that's the thing. We can pile expectations on every player. We piled them on Wemby before he even took a shot in the league. But the fact that he's hitting those expectations, the fact that he's exceeding them, that's what's impressive.
Yeah, less impressive was the Lakers last night. 3-game winning streak ends with the loss to the Nuggets, 120-113. Stop me if we've heard this before. But also, Doncic picks up his 15th technical foul of the season after, oh my God, breaking news, arguing with the ref. You can tell, to me, Busby, that Luka's just frustrated, because when he's frustrated and he doesn't know where to channel that, like, they go to therapy, buddy, they call it displacement. The first thing he does is he takes that anger and he throws it at somebody else. I feel like that's what he's doing constantly to the officials. Like, he doesn't like something, he just takes it out on the refs, and now there's going to be consequence to this, because one more and he's suspended for a game.
Right. I mean, if Luka was not able to just knock me down, I would say toughen up, Buttercup. But that's the kind of approach he needs to take. Just not worry about the refs. Focus on the game itself. He can say that he's being treated unfairly, but the way to get treated fairly is just to focus on the game itself and not, as you say, channel your anger and your frustration, justifiable anger and frustration, out on another party. Worst of all, the refs, who can have a material effect on the way the rest of your game goes.
Yeah, look at this quote from McMenamin that's at the press conference. And he said, I heard 3 other players say the exact same sentence, didn't get a tech. That's my problem. I was trying not to talk at all. This is the first thing I said. No warning or nothing. I go back to something very wise that Kenny Rogers said to me, the singer, years and years ago, when he said, everybody says perception is reality, and that's not, you don't go far enough with that. You have to understand that perception is reality because you helped create it and you now live in it. So when he says other players say the same exact sentence, to that I say, hey, man, part of growing up and growing older is understanding that whatever voice you've had has created the consequence you now live in. So do those other players have the same history with the officials? Do those other players have the same tone? Anybody that's ever been in a relationship can tell you tone matters, triggers a million arguments, right? Like, so what you say, how you say it, who you say it to, and what you've said before are all part of the equation. And Luka's quote just tells me yet again, he doesn't get it. Like, you don't get warnings anymore at this point because you've already pissed half the league off. Just accepted that, like, where you are right now in the warning system is where you've created. So to me, even the quote shows me that Luka doesn't really get it. And that's the frustrating part, because I think you're looking at one of the best players in the world, obviously. But Busby, the more we talk about Luka, it's impossible not to talk about this problem over and over and over again, because he won't stop stepping in it.
It's such a fixable problem. This is something that he has 100% total control. You can't control how you shoot in a game because you've got defenders on you. You can control what comes out of your mouth. And this is the kind of thing where he is going to be hurting his team, hurting his effort, hurting his own stat line, all of it. it's all in his control. And that's what he's got to figure out. He's got to come to terms with. It's much more fun. Believe me, it would be much more fun to blame the refs for all the problems. It's much more fun to blame someone else for all the troubles in your life. But the fact is, it starts with him, and it needs to start immediately if the Lakers are going to get any more than the first round of the playoffs this year.
So speaking of things you can and can't control, Cooper Flagg gets back on the court last night. He can control the outcome, 18 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 blocks in 26 minutes. Impressive stat line. One thing he may not be able to control is how the Rookie of the Year race goes, though, because last time I checked, Con Knipple over here launching the Charlotte Hornets into superstardom categories. So in your mind, can Cooper Flagg sort of find this way back into this race?
Yeah, I mean, the only way that he does it is just by sheer overwhelming numbers. He's not going to turn the Mavs into a contender or a playoff team or anything like that overnight. He's got to do it by numbers. But even that, I'm not sure does enough, because Con has been so exceptional in being a spark plug to this great Charlotte Hornets team, this team that's so much fun to watch. He's kind of riding the wave. He's surfing this Charlotte wave, and I have no idea if there are waves anywhere near Charlotte, but he's riding it right now. I don't think so, but he's riding it right now, and it's great for him and for his own Rookie of the Year chances. And yeah, I mean, Cooper might not be able to close the gap now, but he's got better days ahead of him, but the Rookie of the Year might be out of reach for him.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm sure there's a water park in Charlotte that has like a wave machine.
That's right.
I feel like the Con Knipple portion of this is every bit as significant as the Cooper Flagg portion of it, because what we realistically now have to look at is, I think the only way that Con Knipple isn't the Rookie of the Year is if his season or Charlotte's season collapses. At this point, there's so much momentum for it, and it's so much greater than what was expected. Right or wrong, sort of what was expected of you becomes part of the line in the sand of how we judge players. So Cooper Flagg could have come in and had the single greatest rookie season we've ever seen of all time, and people would still say, oh, yeah, that's exactly what we expected. The fact that we didn't see this coming from Con Knipple, the fact that we didn't see this coming from Charlotte, and I don't think Charlotte's rise is anywhere near done. I think Charlotte's going to end up finding themselves in that top 4 category in the East, and when that happens, and we're looking at the why, when you've got somebody that's already set the 3-point rookie record and there's this much season ahead, like Con Knipple isn't just setting a record, he's destroying a record. So we have shockingly to many, if we go back in the preseason and ask this question, we've reached a point where I don't think it's just a matter of Cooper Flagg playing well. I think Cooper Flagg would have to be lights out, undeniable for the rest of the season, and Con Knipple would have to fall off for the Rookie of the Year to change hands. And that's a statement to how great Con has been. It's also, though, Jay, to the point you made at the end about Cooper, it's also a reminder that I think what we've got here are at least 2 in this draft, superstars set to genuinely be faces of their team for years to come. Like, one of the encouraging things here isn't just who's going to win Rookie of the Year. One of the encouraging things to me is that we're going to have Flagg v. Knipple for the foreseeable future, and I think those are going to be epic matchups.
Yeah, Flagg v. Knipple doesn't roll off the tongue quite like Bird v. Magic, but the potential, and I'm not comparing it in any other way than just saying that the face of the team, the potential to have 2 stars who are entering the league at the same time and continuing forward for a decade or more and trading punches at the top of the league, that's going to be fun to see if they're able to continue this momentum. And signs are for both of them that is possible.
It's going to be an incredible moment to watch. This rookie class, I'll keep echoing it. I think there's a lot of talent in the rookie class we just saw. Not a lot of talent for Golden State, Houston. Golden State has basically you and me playing at this point, but still managed to take down Houston 115, 113. They did lower the rims. That helped us immensely.
Yes,
but they
they
take down Houston. Yeah, I still can't palm the ball. But either way, with that win, how do we feel about the Rockets now? Because it feels like everything is just falling apart for KD in Houston.
Yeah, these are rough days for KD. I mean, KD is always gaining this, not gaining. He has the rep of a mercenary, of a guy who brings a whole lot of off-court drama onto the court, takes the on-court drama off the court. This is another case of that, where they had a winnable game. They had an opportunity to beat a severely depleted Golden State team. They didn't get it done. They took it overtime, but they didn't get it done. And that's the kind of thing that just is so maddening about KD. I mean, he's one of the greatest players of all time, but there's so much that goes along with that, so much you have to accept with that. And every team thinks that they're going to be different. Every team that thinks that they're going to get something out of KD that others haven't, and then they find out that the same troubles kind of follow him from team to team.
As the standings sit right now, they are the 4 seed, essentially tied with Denver. There's some percentage points on it. They're both 9.5 games back. They're the 4 seed. I'd be stunned, honestly, if Houston doesn't end up the 5, maybe even the 6. And I don't think the Lakers are particularly good. It's just Houston is struggled in a West where we see other teams getting better and getting hotter. Again, look at San Antonio, 9-1 in their last 10. Oklahoma City, who's been just beat up, and Minnesota are both 8-2 in their last 10. The top teams in the West are finding their rhythm post All-Star break. The Houston Rockets are not. So I think there's massive, massive concerns for Houston, and this season feels more and more like it's going to be a season lost for KD and the Rockets instead of a season of opportunity. Even in a West that's particularly stacked, I don't include Houston anymore in that same conversation as teams like the Timberwolves, teams like the Nuggets. Houston's going to be left behind when it's all said and done. Speaking of the NBA, coming up next, we'll take a look at some of the biggest storylines in the league, but we're going to figure out, are they on target or are they on something? We'll figure it out next.
Well, one of the things, too, that keeps coming up, I keep hearing, and it kept coming up in response to my story after the hearing and during the hearing, is, hey, why doesn't he just go pro? Imagine being a college kid and making $5 million plus.
It's pretty easy. It's just money, guys. It's guaranteed money. This is probably, for most of these individuals, the last time they can make this much money playing the sport.
How can I sit here in one breath and say the sport is broken when it looks like the audience is more pleased with the sport than ever?
It's not broke. It's just we've been drinking out of a fire hose for 3 years. But it can't just be pay them, kick them off the team, next guy, next team. I worry about these kids' long-term health and what they're going to do with their lives when they're 26 and 27, when they have no roots at any university.
James Rodriguez is reportedly joining Minnesota United. The main thing as a fan of the league, I would just be excited to see him play. And then Minnesota against NYCFC, get to go see James. And what if that game is at Citi Field, bro? Queens is going to lose their mind.
It's going to go nuts. Astoria and Jackson Heights will be empty. There will be 3 Uruguayans, 4 Argentinians, and 6 Mexicans in all of Jackson Heights going, what the hell's going on? Where is everybody?
Admittedly, I'm a huge fan of Travis Hunter as a prospect. Do you have any sense of what his growth is going to be like, where he might be playing more and more, what his role is going to look like, especially on the offensive side?
The way he is, his personality, I think this injury in his rookie year is only going to just make him better. He was starting to really get going on offense, and we were starting to click. So who knows what the rep count looks like, but I know he's a special receiver when he gets the ball in his hands.
Joe Mazzulla says, I might not even be alive by that day. I go to bed questionable and wake up probable. When was asked about whether or not we're going to see Jayson Tatum's potential return, I go to bed questionable, wake up probable. I feel that all the way to my core. And Mazzulla is the perfect person to help us kick off another edition of what we like to call On Target or On Something. We take a look at some of the biggest storylines in the NBA, and we'll ask, is this a bullseye? They're right on target, or like me most afternoons, on something. So we'll start with this one. Celtics head coach Joe Mazzulla trying to bring some perspective over Jayson Tatum's potential return. Is he on target or on something by saying he might not even be alive, goes to bed questionable, wakes up probable?
I mean, yeah, he's absolutely on target for that. I reminded the old Kyle Shanahan quote from a couple of years back when he said that he was asked about the health of some of his players, and he said, I can't guarantee that anybody in the world will be alive on Sunday. So, these coaches are taking a little bit more of an apocalyptic view of players' health than maybe we might want. But, I think we've all felt that, going to bed questionable, waking up probable, maybe waking up a healthy scratch. You never know how it goes. But, yes, he is definitely on target for me.
Yeah, he's on target for me too, because I think what we have to be aware of here is that every day is more information, right? So if our concept is Tatum's going to get back on the court, well, that presumes that every day, there are a team of doctors, personal and team doctors, that are all involved in this process, that are all going to be looking at scans, they're going to be looking at physical reaction, they're going to be looking at swelling, they're going to be looking at pain tolerance, all of these things, and they're going to be asking Tatum a ton of difficult questions before they let him get on the court. So I think it's great to target a return, but I think he's on target when he says, hey, God only knows, because, I mean, anybody knows that your body can already act kind of funny when you get up. If you're trying to figure out if your body is ready for the wear and tear of an NBA game on a surgically repaired Achilles, I think we need to remind everybody of that entire statement. Like, he's not just going out there saying, like, oh, I'm going to go for a walk down to the end of the driveway. He's trying to play an NBA game on a surgically repaired Achilles less than a year later. So I think, a little patience goes a long way. Mazzulla on target. By the way, he might be becoming my favorite coach in all of sports, the way he handles everything. Let's talk about another NBA coach here. Knicks coach Mike Brown. All right, so Knicks coach Mike Brown was asked about SGA after their close loss to the Thunder, and he said SGA is a tough cover, and he does a great job of convincing the referees that he's getting hit, probably better than anybody in the league. All right, is he on target or is he on something?
I mean, he's on something. What we need to do is convene a panel here with SGA and Luka and have them sit down. What can they learn from each other? What can Luka learn from SGA about how to work the refs in a proper way? I mean, SGA is what? Maybe 200 pounds soaking wet. A change in wind direction can cause him to fly backwards. So he uses that to his advantage. He uses that. He's able to add a little theatricality. He's able to catch the ref's attention. That's part of the game. The showmanship is part of the game. Mike Brown knows this. If he had SGA on his roster, he'd be just fine with it. So complaining about it, it's also part of the game. It's also part of the performance here. But complaining about it, Mike Brown's on something.
I mean, look, my answer is probably a little bit of both, right? I think at some point when you become one of the greats in the NBA, part of your ability is to just draw. Like, look, Jordan pushed off. Reggie Miller used to kick everybody. I mean, go back and watch 90s basketball and the way that they were pulling on each other's jerseys, trying to get rebounds all over the place. Like, we see it all the time. We had people complain about special calls and special treatment for Kobe over and over and over again. How often did we sit here and say Shaq got away with things that nobody else could get away with, right? Like, this is what superstars do. Superstars get calls. That's the way it goes. Part of this, I think, is at the end of the day, there are a lot of people that don't love mid-range jumper, boring basketball, and that's how we sort of equate what SGA does. I think it's a little bit unfair, but, frankly, that's just part of his game. So when you are a mid-range jumper guy that sort of flails your body out there to get contact, you're really good at drawing contact. And on top of that, the refs call that contact because you are an MVP in the NBA. Like, that's just all of these things sort of match. Like, I don't think SGA is doing anything historically that most great players don't do. I also don't think that the refs are doing what they don't usually do. Everybody's sort of this is par for the course. I don't know what Mike Brown's complaining about. And also, by the way, Busby, you're 1,000% right. If Mike Brown had SGA playing on his team, do you think he'd complain about this for even a second? Even a second? Would he have a single thing to say about SGA getting those calls?
Yeah, that's true. And then you mentioned Shaq. I mean, you go back and look at those 90s games. I mean, Shaq was getting attacked. He was getting hit with trucks every single time down the field. It's like how you can call holding on every single play in the NFL. You could have called a foul on players guarding Shaq every single possession down the court. It's how the game is played. There has to be a give and a take. And, yeah, if Mike Brown had SGA, he'd be just fine with this. Every coach who has a star has no problem with the refs tilting the game a little in their favor.
Yeah, you hate them because you hate them, and then you just complain about it. It's bad luck. All right, let's stick with coaches giving us quotes galore. This one comes from Steve Kerr, who this year has made his opinions abundantly clear about where this Golden State roster is, and he was asked about criticisms that he hasn't developed young players. His quote, "Grown-ups win championships. Any frustration from our fans is probably coming from this idea that young players should get it right away. It just doesn't work that way." Is he on target or on something?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's on target in the sense that players take time to develop to the NBA level. There's a level of competition that the NBA, that no college game can prepare you for, no matter what, no matter who you're playing for, even if you're playing for Duke. You can't be prepared for how the NBA works. He has to develop the players in the right way, but the issue that he's running into now is, as we discussed before, they're getting depleted. They're focusing on some very, very, very grown-up players. If they keep on focusing to grown-up players to the exclusion of youth, then he is on something if he thinks that's sustainable.
I struggle with this one because I do believe you're right. He's on target that maybe young players don't understand it the right way. He's on something if he thinks I'm going to buy this as an excuse for why the Warriors are where they are. Like, organizationally, this is a team that has had plenty of opportunity to try and draft and replace players. This is a team that's had plenty of opportunity to bring in young players while the older players could be a shining example of what it takes to win. This is a team that could have restocked the cupboards several times, and they didn't. And now all I'm hearing from Kerr, honestly, are excuses. Like, whether it's logic or whether it's an explanation or whether it's an excuse, now we're splitting very fine hairs. But when Kerr comes out and says, well, yeah, I mean, our roster is not built to be competitive with OKC, teams like that. Okay, well, whose fault is it that players, because we're not talking about a 1-year development issue. Like, we're talking about over the course of the last several years, Golden State has had a trio of superstars that have helped them win a bunch of football games. But a bunch of basketball games. But at some point, I look at all of this and say, it's up to the organization to draft and develop and to use the older guys as the leaders that show people how it's done. Like, we see this literally in every sport, Busby. So I hear when he wants to say, hey, young guys don't get it. But I also feel like that's no different than sitting at the Thanksgiving table when, Grandpa's like, oh, you young people just don't understand it. Okay, that's not really an excuse. We got to figure a workaround for that. If you're Steve Kerr, you are a legend. You are a Hall of Fame caliber coach. You are supposed to be one of the best to ever stand on a sideline. The answer of I'm one of the best, it's just young players don't understand winning or what it takes, make them understand. That's why you are supposed to be one of the best coaches in the world. If you can't make them understand, that's got to be, at least in some ways, on the culture and the teacher.
Yeah, every NBA team has three separate, every team in general has three separate levels that they're competing at. They're competing at the X's and O's levels in each individual game. They're competing over the course of the season, and then they're competing over the course of a half decade or more, the length of a player's career. And obviously Kerr is a master at the first two. He's able to win a game. He's able to win a season. That third element, focusing on a long-term, building a dynasty, keeping a dynasty going, rejuvenating a dynasty, that's where the questions come in. That's why, and those are valid questions to ask. Yes, they built a great one in the 2010s. How do they keep it going into the 2020s? That's what the questions are, and they're valid questions to ask no matter who you're talking about.
I mean, there is some element of what we do eventually with players is we turn around all the time and say, well, you only won because you had this teammate or that teammate. How many times have I heard Scottie Pippen would never have won if he didn't have Michael Jordan, right? Like, it's that great debate. Well, there was a period, I want to remind everybody, where people said Phil Jackson won all of his games with superstar players. I mean, Kerr has won a lot of games with a lot of superstars. Whatever the Warriors are now is at least in part something that he's helped build. He's partially responsible for. Whatever they lack has to be partially on him. And if it's because guys come in that simply don't understand winning, then why as an organization are they not bringing in the type of player that understands what it takes to sacrifice to win basketball games? So at the end of the day, it just feels like a lot of pointing and not a lot of looking in the mirror. Let's take a look at another storyline here. How about the Charlotte Hornets? Hottest team in the East right now. We are Charlotte Hornets stands on this show, but where should we put them in the conference pecking order? Tom Haberstroh, friend of the show and Yahoo teammate, said this yesterday. I want you to check it out when he was on the Kevin O'Connor show. Take a listen.
Charlotte right now is the 5th best team in the Eastern Conference, and because the way that they started the season, 4-14, 12-25, or whatever it was, they probably won't get to number 5. I would safely say that I feel better about the Charlotte Hornets than the Toronto Raptors, Philadelphia 76ers, certainly the Orlando Magic, and now the Miami Heat, where it's just, they're undeniable.
The Charlotte Hornets are the 5th best team in the East on target or on something, Busby? What do you think?
Well, before I get to that, undeniable is a hell of a T-shirt slogan. I mean, that's what you got to roll with for the rest of the year. But yes, I think in terms of this point right now, it is he is on target. They're the 5th best team in the East, but we might change that to on something in a couple of weeks when they get rise up to the 4th or the 3rd best.
I think he's on something because I think they're higher than all of that. And again, I'm going to go back to just this moment for me. Let me be a prisoner of the moment. Damn it, I have earned that right. I'm out on the Knicks, and that's an important part of this conversation. I'm out on the wildly inconsistent New York Knicks. So, look, the Knicks could go on a run because when they play well, they play well. And the Knicks could also get just pounded in this thing because when they don't play well, it's particularly ugly. Yeah, and right now, when I'm looking at the top teams in the East, I think the Pistons, the Celtics, and the Cavs have sort of separated themselves into their own category. At that point, after that, I'm looking at the Knicks and I'm looking squarely at the Hornets. Those are two teams. And I understand we have to include their record at the beginning of the season. Particularly young team that needed some time to gel together. I don't think that's a shocking take. That now is as hot as it could possibly be. I get playoff basketball, young teams, we never know how they're going to respond to it. Will they make the right adjustments? All the things that we're going to say, all the, bloviating gas bag, blowhard things that we're going to say going into the playoffs about young teams that have never done it. Same things that people were saying a year ago about OKC, right? Like, I don't know. They got to prove that they got to go through some adversity, all these things. Look, when you shoot as lights out as this Charlotte Hornets team plays, and when you play with the energy on the defensive side of the ball, which I think we don't talk enough about, that they have played with throughout the course of this run that they've been on, I absolutely believe that you can go on a run in the playoffs. And right now, I don't think if we're taking a body of work of, let's say, the last month, over the last month, if I'm looking at the body of work of Charlotte versus the body of work of the New York Knicks, I trust the Hornets more than I trust the Knicks. I know we had huge expectations for the Knicks coming into the season. I know the Knicks have Madison Square Garden, and the Knicks have superstars, and the Knicks have the cachet of being the Knicks. But that man that we talked about right there earlier in this show is one of many guys. It wasn't that long ago that there were people sitting there saying Ball had to be traded. They needed to blow it all up. Charlotte should just tank through this season. That's how bad it was. And now you look at how good it has gotten, and I don't think it's accidental. I don't think anymore we can just sit back and say, well, it's a hot team that's eventually going to come back to earth. No, I think this is who they are. I think that they challenge you on the perimeter offensively and defensively. I think they challenge you with a level of energy when they're on the court that you have to match. I don't know if it's their youth that makes them better in that process, but I trust that a hell of a lot more than I trust the up and down sort of seesaw teeter-totter world of living in the New York Knicks realm. So I think he's on something because, Busbee, I think the Hornets are better than the fifth team in the East. I think they're at least going to end up being the fourth.
Well, here's another bloviating gas bag kind of statement. You know what everybody's record is when you start the playoffs, don't you? Everybody's back to zero. It doesn't matter how you did back in October or November. And I think that you hit on an important point there. Yes, they're a team that relies heavily on shooting and on three-point, and that can go cold. But the energy that they bring, you can bring that every single night, regardless of whether you're having a hot night or a cold shooting night. You can bring the energy, and that's the kind of thing that can tilt a game back or keep you in a game until you find the stroke there, until you get that those playoff jitters, if they come, out of the way. So yeah, I think that Charlotte is very well built for a deep run into the playoffs, and it's going to be fun to see how they stack up against those big four or big three, depending on how you slice the top of the East.
Yeah, they won't get to the 4th seed. It should be noted. I wouldn't think that requires way too much of a run to go on. But I'm looking at Toronto, who I don't particularly believe in. And right now, there's only 3.5 games separating Charlotte and Toronto. I can get Charlotte to the 5 seed, and I believe the Knicks end up with the 4 seed. I think we're going to get Knicks, Hornets, first round of the playoffs, and I'm here for what's going to be a first-round exit for New York at the hands of the Charlotte Hornets. Calling it early. I'm calling it early. I'm in on this thing. Boy, Knicks fans are going to make sure that I hear it if I'm wrong. Can't believe that that's going to happen. Speaking of things we hear, yet another day means yet another piece of drama coming out of Vegas. Latest reports talking about more turmoil around Maxx. What's it actually mean? We'll tell you about it next.
What is the process as a receiver winning against zone coverage? Is it more settling down? Is it finding holes? Walk us through the process there.
So the first thing that you want to look at is those safeties, right? So then you just look at your triangle. So I go safeties to nickel backer or nickel or backer, and then out to that corner, is it going to be cover 2? Are they showing 3 right now because they're going to roll into 2? Are those safeties low? Just seeing those subtleties are really what makes you a really good zone player.
You don't want to get ahead of yourself when you think that he's going to come and be a game changer. He's more of a managerial type that can operate at a high level. I have made the comparison to Jared Goff in terms of how he'll play the game within the right system. The best thing that has happened to Fernando Mendoza is Clint Kubiak bringing his system to the Las Vegas Raiders. And when surrounded by the right talent, he can have a lot of success.
We got the announcement that Floyd Mayweather will be taking on Manny Pacquiao in a rematch. People will watch, people will tune in, and I'm curious to see how it looks. Like, I think they're going to be around the same skill level if they both come in healthy. And I really think it is significant that Floyd Mayweather is putting the L on the line.
100%. How do you make the competitive balance the most even? I think Manny and Floyd at this stages in their life, that makes it fair and exciting. So I'm in on Mayweather Pacquiao too.
A little Saban for us because everybody loves Saban. So, give us your thoughts.
I knew that you were going to bring me in here and have me do Nick Saban for him.
Have you done Saban for Saban?
No, but I met him.
Okay.
And he didn't know that it was me. And he shook my hand, and I said, Coach, Joey Molinaro, so good to finally meet you, as if he would know who I was. And he just looked at me and goes, yeah, well, all right. Walked away.
Per Mike Silver, Maxx Crosby and others are frustrated by the role of Tom Brady confidant Alex Guerrero with the Raiders. That was yet another report coming out as we see these constantly about drama in Vegas. And Busbee, you know my fandom here. But I want to say very clearly, I think Mike Silver does a really good job. And Mike Silver is a noted and known pro in this business for a reason. He's well-sourced. He doesn't make things up. He does his job particularly well. I struggle with this, and you are also a journalist. I am not. So I struggle with this because I'm trying to figure out how to make sense of this report. And I'm going to clap back to it a little bit because Brian Hoyer, who was a backup quarterback for the Patriots and for the Raiders at different times in his career, he clapped back to this, tweeting out his own experience with Guerrero. And it's interesting because he says, interesting because I've never experienced anyone who didn't walk away from that treatment that didn't feel better and have improvement. Matter of fact, I had to wait at times for my treatment session as Alex would try and squeeze in many players and even coaches who would want to get just 10 to 15 minutes of treatment from him, both in New England and Las Vegas. Brian is still very connected with the Raiders organization, obviously, and he's still connected with the Patriots organization. He went on to talk about specific injuries that he rehabbed from better because of the treatment that Alex gave him. On top of that, I'll throw one other needle in here. The report cards that were leaked by everybody for the NFLPA, the Raiders players gave the training staff an A. The Raiders players gave ownership an A. So if there's a problem with Alex Guerrero behind the scenes, an anonymous report card would give an opportunity to share that. They didn't. A former player would give an opportunity to share some of that. He didn't. Like, I understand that Mike Silver has his sources, but I look at all of this and I say, I get that there's smoke constantly around Max. I struggle to see how this report makes sense with the actual data that we've been given, not just from Hoyer, but from the players themselves in their report card. If they had a problem with Guerrero or his role with Brady, I would think that would reflect in the strength conditioning section or in the ownership section.
Yeah, you've got to consider every time that you have a report like this. And again, the complete respect for Mike Silver. This is not some Twitter loudmouth saying, "Oh, I heard that so and so is upset with Alex Guerrero being there." This is somebody who is very deeply invested in the NFL, deeply sourced. Everyone has a reason for leaking information. Everyone has a higher purpose. They're not just going to leak information about Alex Guerrero just for the sake of getting a little bit of gossip out there. There's an ulterior motive. So you got to consider what there is to gain, and you will never, ever go broke. You will never, ever find a lack of interest for anybody who's leaking information that makes Tom Brady and Alex Guerrero by association look bad. So that's what you've got to question here is who's leaking, to what extent, to what purpose. How does this factor into Maxx Crosby and his potential next destination? And again, keep in mind, an NFL locker room, an NFL organization is like any other organization. It's like your company. There's always multiple narratives at play. There's always people who are going to be dissatisfied. There's going to be people who are going to be protecting their own little fiefdom. That was what the issue was in New England, was that Alex Guerrero was taking a larger share of the Patriots' mind space and of the Patriots' power than a lot of people who were in charge there were comfortable with. And that's what happened behind the scenes there. I'm not at all saying that's what happened in Las Vegas, but signs point to something like that being a possibility.
I do think there's such a fine line on all of this because, number one, anytime a report comes out, my first thought is who benefits from it. That tells you who's probably leaking it. I can't figure out who benefits from this story about Guerrero or this story about more sort of malcontent with Max. It doesn't seem to match the way either side wants to be handling some of this. And that's where all of this also gets difficult for me because I look squarely at Maxx sometimes and think, okay, he's told us loudly, and I've said on our shows repeatedly, he's made it clear. When he has something to say, he'll say it. He has a microphone. He has a podcast that, if you follow him on social media, he just let everybody know he reached 100,000 subscribers, which is incredible for his podcast. He also co-hosts a Sirius XM show with Jim Gray and Tom Brady. Maxx has told us repeatedly that when he has something to say, he'll say it. I've never even heard him mention Guerrero's name in any broadcast, in any way, shape, or form. So it's hard for me when somebody comes in with the idea of, I have a platform, I'll use it when I have something to say. But right now, when he's asked about things, he's like, man, I just don't want to talk about this anymore. And I get it. Unfortunately, the only thing that's ever going to stop this conversation is quite literally Maxx Crosby sitting in front of a microphone saying, I want to be traded or I don't want to be traded. That simple. It's 4 or 5 words at Matt. The more you talk, the more convoluted it gets. Like, Maxx is either got to come out and say, I want to be traded or I don't want to be traded. And the Raiders have got to come out at some point and say, we're trading him or we're not trading him. But nobody's doing that because at the end of the day, this is all leverage. Like, the organization, it certainly appears from the outside looking in, is listening to offers because that's what most organizations do. So certainly they don't want to say we're not trading him and then find out somebody would have offered a king's ransom. So I understand it, but this conversation is exhausting. It's exhausting for fans. It's exhausting for media. It's got to be exhausting for Maxx. It's got to be exhausting for his family. It can't be easy for everybody around Maxx Crosby every day to be asked about where Maxx is going to play. I believe that the Raiders and Maxx could put an end to all of this, and I understand why they don't. But that process now just drags on, and these reports get a ton of legs because everybody's looking for the why and the how instead of waiting to hear from the people involved.
Yeah, the NFL news ecosystem abhors a vacuum. If there's any space available to talk gossip, to talk potential trade scenarios, to talk somebody being frustrated with somebody else, it's going to be taken up. That's what the NFL has created. That's what we've all bought into. You've got 17 weeks a year plus playoffs, but then you've got a whole lot of other time to fill. And so this is a perfect example of that. There's nothing going on in the league right now on the field, so we got to fill a little bit with a little bit of in-house gossip. Who doesn't love that?
I continue to die on the hill that Maxx Crosby is becoming the NFL's Giannis Antetokounmpo at this point. Like, it's just every day. It's every day. It's who's trading for him now? Like, even if there's no trade right now, if nothing happens at the beginning of the league year, we're still going to talk about it all the way up to the draft. And if we get through the draft and there's no trade, and the Raiders start the season, 0-4, which, by the way, even with a bunch of money spent and a rookie quarterback that everybody wants to like, the Raiders are probably not going to be a great football team. So when they inevitably start slow this fall, immediately it will be like, well, what are they going to get for Maxx now? They got to move him before the trade deadline. We are doing exactly with Maxx Crosby what we have spent the better part of almost a decade doing with Giannis Antetokounmpo, getting so desperate to try and see the star go somewhere else that we're all just exhausted. And at some point, if and when he gets traded, people will take a victory lap without acknowledging they spent years just exhausting all of us trying to figure out where Maxx is going to play.
But we love it. I mean, this is the kind of thing that the NFL thrives on. Where Maxx is going to end up, what he's going to do next, how he's going to benefit a team. Think about it. This is what the NFL draft. This is why everybody watches the NFL draft. This is why hundreds of thousands of people show up at the NFL draft, because you convince yourself of these storylines. You convince yourself that one wide receiver that you picked up out of Ohio State is going to change the entire direction of your franchise. That you pick up Maxx Crosby, you make that deal for him, and he's going to alter your franchise's trajectory. This is what the NFL news industrial complex is built on, and we love it.
Yeah, it is a delight. By the way, the draft, we'll have plenty of coverage for you here on Yahoo Sports and the Yahoo Sports Network. Don't go anywhere. We've got that for you. From drama off the field to actual news on the field, we got some. From the AFC West to the NFC West, the Rams continue to shore up their secondary. They signed safety Cam Curl to a 3-year, $36 million deal, according to Mike Garofalo. That could go up to $39 million, according to some reports. Comes one day after trading for quarterback Trent McDuffie. Curl coming off a big year, 122 tackles, 2 sacks, 2 interceptions, forced fumble. Jay, this is just another building block. Let's remember, the Rams have spent the better part of a decade saying F them picks. So they're going to have to sign some of these young guys that they've been really developing. They're going to spend their money that way. They've got to get these signings right, but I'm not surprised at all to see this one come down the pipeline.
I've got a quick who you got here before we go to break here. NFC West or the entire rest of the NFL to win the Super Bowl next year? Who you got?
Ooh, NFC West. I think the Rams and the Seahawks are about to give us another juggernaut. I love the way both teams are approaching this offseason. We'll see Kenneth Walker III. Let's see where he ends up. But yeah, I'm in on Rams Seahawks being the maybe being the rivalry, like this generation's. I want it to grow into this generation's Colts Patriots. What about you? What do you got?
It'd be tremendous. Yeah, same thing. Yeah, same thing. I mean, it has the potential to be like 49ers Cowboys back in the 1990s, or Colts Patriots. Those kind of classic teams that are always going to be doing battle twice a year during the regular season, and then once a year in late January.
That's what we want to see. What does Vegas want to see? Well, the Rams are now up there. We'll tell you about that. Plus, already got some baseball action happening. Ben Fawkes is going to join us to give us the Vegas landscape coming up next.
Criticism like that from a coach in the moment, how are you feeling when that's happening and the film's on screen?
Yeah, man, I think it's you listen more to the message and not the tone of the message. I mean, I think it's actually better to get called out than to not, because it shows not only like you're not worried about getting your feelings hurt. Like, they're not worried about hurting my feelings. And that's something I love about our coach. Like, he's not really worried about hurting your feelings. He's going to tell you, shoot it to you straight. And for me, like, I've always thrived under coaches that do that.
We are ranking the biggest robberies in MLS history. The players who looked at their team owners and said, thanks for the cash, and gave absolutely nothing in return. If your team is on this list, we are very, very sorry. Danielson, FC Dallas. His contract was for $879,000.
If you're watching this, look at his photo. He don't even look interested to be there in the photo.
With 10 appearances, he effectively got nearly $100,000 per game.
I'm sitting there watching Unreal, and they're talking about you in WWE at the Royal Rumble, just being thrown into the ring. You ever getting back in the ring for one of those opportunities again after that injury?
Man, I don't know. I mean, we got WrestleMania coming up, so you maybe see me in there, you maybe not. I'm just not trying to get beat up, but we'll see. We'll see. Like, I got beat up too much times. My body can't take that anymore.
Little teaser from the one and only Nate Diaz, unfinished business. And then he expanded on that on Twitter and said, I'll see you soon. I'm coming.
What about Dustin? Dustin versus Nate. Big fight. That could be a co-main or a main for a big fight card.
One that we always wanted to see.
One that Dustin has said, that'll get me out of retirement. The UFC could use him more than ever. They need stars now.
The Los Angeles Rams are now the consensus favorite to win Super Bowl 61. Quick Roman numeral work by me at Sportsbooks after the Trent McDuffie deal ahead of the Seattle Seahawks. That from Ben Fawkes, who's out here using Roman numerals early in the morning just to tempt me. He joins us now, betting analyst from Yahoo Sports. All right, is the Rams becoming the favorite over the defending Super Bowl champions? Is that a valid reaction in your mind after that trade?
So I'll get to the Rams in a second. I got to first say, Busbee, can we stop putting Aaron Rodgers on the Vikings? All right, stop trying to make fetch happen. Okay, we don't need this. We don't want it. We got other options. I saw the column. I know it's been picked up other places, but I just had to get that off my chest off the top.
My friend, if I had the power to do that, if I had the power to move Aaron Rodgers around, I would use it for much more higher-minded purposes than sending him to the Vikings.
Fair. That's fair. Getting back to the Rams, I do kind of think this is totally reasonable, right? And obviously, there's more to it than just certainly a cornerback. But Trent McDuffie is a top 10, top 5 cornerback. And you saw with the Rams, there are kind of two really glaring errors with this team last year. One was the special teams, which came back to bite them both in that week 16 game against the Seahawks and obviously in the NFC Championship game. And the second was the secondary. So they now, with those 2 first-round picks, one of them they used there to get Trent McDuffie. I think that's really going to help. As you guys mentioned, they re-signed Cam Curl as well. So now all of a sudden, you have one of the major weaknesses that you're addressing in the secondary. And remember, too, with the Seahawks, who they leapfrogged, or at some sports books, they're tied, but for the most part, the Rams are the consensus favorites. The Seahawks, you also have Kenneth Walker III, and whatever you think about running backs, Zach Charbonnet coming off an injury. Kenneth Walker III was the Super Bowl MVP, so a really important piece for that team. We're not sure if he's coming back. We're not sure if Rashid Shaheed is coming back. They also have some pieces in the secondary who are free agents. We'll see how many of those they can come back. And the other really big factor, too, is just the draft, right? The Rams made that trade with the Falcons. They now have also the number 13 pick. And so that potentially could be another cornerback or a safety. Could that be a Kenyon Sadiq? And now you have another offensive weapon for Sean McVay there. So I think the Rams also have potential to get even a little better. Ultimately, it's all going to be the health of Matthew Stafford and that back we were so worried about last year. And as I was joking on Inside Coverage, I don't know how that flight to Australia and back is going to be great for his back, but we got a ways off to deal with that. Ultimately, I do think it's a fair reaction. The Rams were the top power-rated team by odds makers in the second half of last season. I think they were second in DVOA, high in all the stats, and a great offensive team as well. If they can shore up that defense a bit, which you can see that's kind of what they're targeting this offseason, they're going to be right there next year.
All right, let's stay in Los Angeles. Let's stay talking about championship favorites, which sadly does not include the Lakers. Let's talk about the Dodgers. They are absolute overwhelming favorites to win the World Series this year. Give some historical context to the Los Angeles Dodgers and the way that they're setting up in the markets at this point.
Yeah, the Dodgers, you just kind of right. I looked at the newser I wrote last year for their World Series preview, and you could kind of just tweak a couple of things, right? So one was who they beat in the World Series, and the other was kind of how big a historical favorite they were. So going into last season, they were plus 240. Going into the season before, they were plus 350. And basically this year, they're plus 225. That's the shortest odds for any team in over 20 years. The 2003 New York Yankees, who are plus 200, is the shortest. And then for the Dodgers as a franchise, that is their best preseason World Series odds since at least 1985, which is as far back as the Sports Odds History database goes. So this is a team that not only is it very good odds for them and kind of historically, but you also see it over the rest of baseball. Dodgers have a win total of 103.5. I believe the next closest is the Mets and the Yankees at 90.5. So a big gap there. They're, I think, minus 650 to win the NL West, which they've won, I believe, 12 of 13 seasons. And most importantly, or kind of most notably, in that World Series market, no other team even has single digit odds to win the World Series. So not only are the Dodgers plus 225, as we see in the graphic, the Yankees are 10-1, the Mets 14 there, the Mariners and the Blue Jays at 13-1. So all of those teams are that far back. You can either look at that as, okay, maybe there's some value on the Yankees and some of those other teams, or man, the Dodgers are just kind of so far ahead of everyone else that I'm not sure, you kind of got to wait until you get to the playoffs and see who even might have a chance, barring injuries and everything else.
Ben, we're also coming off years where we've seen unprecedented wild championships, right? So how often is Vegas right when it comes to MLB early predictions on World Series favorites?
Yeah, I'm going to have to do a little of a deep dive sometime this offseason on other sports as well. But in baseball, there is value in betting basically everyone else historically. Now, there is a slight caveat with that. So since 2001, there's only been 4 teams to win the World Series who have had the best preseason odds, right, or the shortest preseason odds heading into the season. Unfortunately, 2 of those have been the Dodgers the last 2 seasons. So historically, if you've been the World Series favorite, you haven't necessarily fared that well. I think just talking to odds makers, and one said basically the Dodgers are just in a tier of their own in terms of talent, right? We think about last season, they still won the World Series. They had all of those pitching injuries throughout the season. They still managed to get it done. And then on top of that, this offseason, they went out and got even better, and as well as adding Kyle Tucker and others. So they're potentially an even better team than they were last year. They still won the World Series the past 2 seasons. So it really is kind of a Dodgers and everyone else in the way, in a sense, you kind of had the NBA, right, several years ago, where it was kind of the Warriors and everyone else. Even the Warriors, though, were odds-on favorites to win the title. So they were, minus 175 or something. The Dodgers are still plus money, But man, there's a gap between them and everyone else heading into this season.
You mentioned the NBA, so let's go there now. Jayson Tatum is apparently coming back for his first game since tearing his Achilles last season. How is his return going to help the Celtics both in short-term spreads and in long-term title odds this year?
Yeah, this is obviously one of the big storylines of the NBA. I think we'll probably see, as I talk to some odds makers, some bettors who had the Celtics at very good title odds, let's say in August and before the season, thinking that, hey, maybe if they're better than we originally thought going into the season, and then Tatum comes back, well, they could be a force in the playoffs. They've basically moved now to the favorite to win the Eastern Conference, ahead of the Cavs, ahead of the Pistons, and ahead of the Knicks at most sports books. One odds maker I talked to, he bumped the Celtics power rating up just a point right now, just to see basically, there's going to be a minutes restriction, to see kind of how they incorporate him as he ramps up those minutes. Another odds maker said basically a healthy Jayson Tatum is probably worth 3 to 3.5 points against the spread, which, to put in perspective, that's basically a top 15 player. Obviously, I think his value against the spread depressed a little bit just because of how good that team is as well, and obviously how good the coaching staff is, which we've seen this season just in how well they've kind of outperformed the market expectations. So if he was on, let's say the Wizards or a different team that didn't have as much talent, he'd be worth a little more to the spread. But in essence, odds makers are viewing them as the favorite in the Eastern Conference. That partially is to protect against, people. They think people are going to bet them at worse odds anyway, so they're going to bump that up a little bit. And just knowing that people are going to bet kind of the news and Jayson Tatum coming back, the first thing people are going to go to is, okay, what are their title odds? What are their Eastern Conference odds? So protecting a little bit against that, but I do think it's fair that, with a bump in power rating, and I do think the concern about incorporating him probably is a bit overblown, because ultimately he's going to want to win another championship. If you have him, if he's able to, take the ego right out of it and, let's say, come off the bench, and now Jayson Tatum is leading your second team to start, you have Jaylen Brown and the starters leading your first team, it's a pretty good team. It's a pretty good problem to have. And now they at least have a little more of a runway of 20 games, let's say, versus 10 to 12 before the playoffs to kind of get it all together.
I mean, we've spent too much time talking about good basketball teams. Let's talk about a bad one. The Lakers lost last night to the Nuggets, so it hasn't gone the way necessarily. They did get a few wins against some bad teams, but still, how have bettors been faring so far when looking at the Lakers specifically?
Yeah, I had to double check this stat just to make sure that this was accurate and make sure, that I wasn't missing anything. But the Lakers, as an underdog, have now lost 12 straight games, both straight up and against the spread, including last night against the Nuggets. I think they're about a 4-point dog, losing that game by 7. Basically, if you bet the Lakers as a favorite, you've been pretty good this season. They're 25-13 against the spread as a favorite. They're now 8-16 as an underdog, which, by the way, means they started 8-4, but losing 12 straight as an underdog and against the spread is pretty difficult to do. Lakers still overall 33-29 against the spread, but it just is interesting, that split where we kind of see they won those clutch games early. They maybe beat some teams that they shouldn't have, and they've been pretty good as a favorite, but when they've been an underdog, it's just been a disaster, especially recently.
All right, let's wrap this up with some racing, boys. Tyler Reddick is going for his 4th straight win to start the NASCAR season here. What are his odds to win over this weekend, and have you seen an influx of betting on Reddick as this streak has continued?
Yeah, so he's 18-1, which is, I think he's the 9th best odds right now for that race. He is the most bets, as you would probably expect. He is the most handle, and at BetMGM, he is also the biggest liability. So at 18-1, those bets add up. I think as of yesterday, he had around 18% of the wagers. So even if it's a small pool and kind of gets bigger and bigger towards the weekend, that's definitely going to be ultimately the driver they're looking not to have win the race. And I think for the public, right, they see, hey, he not only won once, he won twice, he won 3 straight. This seems like not necessarily a sure thing, but at 18-1, you're getting potentially better value. I would just caution again, if he has the 9th best odds, Ryan Blaney, the favorite at plus 475. There's never a sure thing in betting, but listen, I'll be rooting for him. It's a great story. And anytime you have something like this, and obviously with MJ involved too, I think it's always a good thing.
Yeah, look, Ben, we appreciate your expertise. You've got about a week now. Get a lot of fluids, get your rest. And March Madness right around the corner. I worry about you. We're going to overuse you. You're going to be asked to be an expert on.
I'm ready. This is good. This is good.
Suddenly, the Nashville Auto Diesel College starting five is going to be broken down by you. So, I'm just letting you know, we need your help. So take it easy this week. Get ready for March Madness, my friend. We appreciate you hanging out with us. Have a great weekend.
Sounds good, guys.
It's great stuff from Ben Fawkes, as always. Follow him on Twitter at BFawkes22. All right, coming up. Can't wait to watch that man get his butt kicked. And there's plenty of people that can do it. We'll tell you about it next.
Well, one of the things, too, that keeps coming up, I keep hearing, and it kept coming up in response to my story after the hearing and during the hearing, is, hey, why doesn't he just go pro? Imagine being a college kid and making $5 million plus.
It's pretty easy. It's just money, guys. It's guaranteed money. This is probably, for most of these individuals, the last time they can make this much money playing the sport.
How can I sit here in one breath and say the sport is broken when it looks like the audience is more pleased with the sport than ever?
It's not broke. It's just we've been drinking out of a fire hose for 3 years. But it can't just be pay them, kick them off the team, next guy, next team. I worry about these kids' long-term health and what they're going to do with their lives when they're 26 and 27, when they have no roots at any university.
James Rodriguez is reportedly joining Minnesota United. The main thing as a fan of the league, I would just be excited to see him play. And then Minnesota against NYCFC, get to go see James. And what if that game is at Citi Field, bro? Queens is going to lose their mind.
It's going to go nuts. Astoria and Jackson Heights will be empty. There will be 3 Uruguayans, 4 Argentinians, and 6 Mexicans, and all of Jackson Heights going, what the hell's going on? Where is everybody?
Admittedly, I'm a huge fan of Travis Hunter as a prospect. Do you have any sense of what his growth is going to be like, where he might be playing more and more, what his role is going to look like, especially on the offensive side?
The way he is, his personality, I think this injury in his rookie year is only going to just make him better. He was starting to really get going on offense, and we were starting to click. So who knows what the rep count looks like, but I know he's a special receiver when he gets the ball in his hands.
That man right there, Shohei, had the night of a lifetime, or in his case, just another day. 4 at-bats, 3 home runs, 5 RBIs, 3 hits, I should say, 1 home run. Absolutely massive, massive game for Shohei Ohtani. And Jay, I say it jokingly, I don't ever want to take this level of greatness for granted, but I mean, certainly the World Baseball Classic, again, puts on a global display for how incredibly generational, a word we use too often, but actually applies here, Shohei Ohtani is.
You're exactly right. Our entire industry is built on overreacting to the moment. You know, some guy goes and drops 35 points in the NBA one night, and we're like, oh, what a star-making performance. But it's not. It's absolutely not. This is a star-making performance. What Ohtani does night after night is the kind of thing that we read about when we were kids about Babe Ruth doing, what we hear about Michael Jordan doing back in the day. This is the kind of thing that you just don't have any kind of historical correlation for. And the only reason, I think, why we don't value it to the extent that we probably should is because of that little hesitancy, like, are we sure that this is the greatest baseball player of all time? Or maybe it's not. Maybe it's bias. I don't think it's bias. I think we're looking at the greatest baseball player of all time right here, right in this moment. And he's at the prime of his powers, and he's showing it all over the world.
There's a phenomenon to all of this, whether it's the fact that he's doing things that we've just never seen before, whether it's the fact that he's dominant in multiple positions, whether it's the fact that we're coming off of a World Series where, frankly, he captured the attention, I should say, of the entire baseball world, or now what he's doing in the WBC. We've already talked on the show about the meaning he has to the country of Japan and the way that they fill out just a batting practice to see him do what he does. This is one of those rare moments where I think, sometimes we overhype things. In this instance, the world should stop every time Shohei plays, because every time Shohei plays, you have the chance to tell your grandkids about the opportunity you got to see that once-in-a-lifetime moment. That's what he does every single time he's in a lineup. It's hard to ever find that level of impact. I'm not sure anybody can make it or will make it anytime soon, but Shohei continues to absolutely dominate. We'll cover as much of the World Baseball Classic as we can throughout the course of all of this. It will be wild and exciting, but there's also, speaking of wild exciting, at least some drama out there in the form of Logan Paul offering $1 million to any NFL player who can beat him in a fight. Okay, he said, quote, "I would throttle Myles Garrett. Come to the gym. Let's see how it goes." Now, it should also be noted that it took Le'Veon Bell like seconds to respond to him, and he ducked Le'Veon Bell. So he said no to Le'Veon Bell, pointing out that Le'Veon is already a fighter, that he'd have to take time away from WWE to train, and that Le'Veon's not enough of a draw for his time. So he's already ducking the first former NFL player, but I don't know. I mean, what do you think? Is this Logan Paul being Logan Paul? Like, is this absolutely something that we think we could see?
I would love to see it. I think the issue here is the rules of the fight. Because if you have just a stand-up fight, if he's been training for this fight, in this kind of fighting style, then yes, he has, if not an advantage, at least a familiarity. You go and you take, say, Myles Garrett, and you cut him loose, and you say, all right, you can chase him down around the ring, you can tackle him. Then then you've got a fight on your hands. The thing with Myles Garrett is, he generally doesn't have quarterbacks who will punch back at him. He doesn't have to necessarily get down in a ground and pound situation. But yeah, I think that as big as Logan Paul obviously appears to a normal human being, think about this. He's about 6'0", 200 pounds. Myles Garrett, 6'4", 272. Just sheer weight alone, you're talking about an absolute domination there. So yeah, it would be fun to see. It'd be thrilling to see without a doubt. But I don't see it happening anytime soon.
No, Myles Garrett would kick his ass all day, every day on Tuesdays. I mean, look at the videos of Maxx Crosby in the MMA ring training for fun, because Max has repeatedly told people he just loves getting hit. He loves physical violence. Like there's something like Logan Paul versus Myles Garrett wouldn't even be a matchup. Myles Garrett would absolutely hammer him, wouldn't even have to bring the helmet in to help him, in fact. And you're right, the size differential is a big part of this. I think I'll go back to, Damian Woody, a friend of mine, and just one of the nicest, kindest people you will ever meet, Busby. Damian's such a delight. And Damian, when he shakes your hand so gently. And I asked him once, I was like, why so gentle? Because, obviously I'm a little person. I'm small. I get that. But Damian said, flat out, he's like, I didn't realize till I got out of the league how often I intentionally hurt people when I shake their hand. So I either fist bump or I don't close my hand when I shake people's hands, because my hands are just unintentionally violent. Like, that's what we're talking about in the NFL. You put Myles Garrett against Logan Paul, intentionally violent hands. Oh my God. It'd be absolute, this would be absolute dominance. What about other NFL players of note? We've seen some players comment about all of this. Deion Dawkins, Bills Pro Bowl left tackle. What do you think? Deion Dawkins, Logan Paul in a fight. Who you got?
Well, I would say, first off, that I will 100% say that Logan Paul is one of the guys who tries to break your hand when he shakes your hand. He's going to reach out. He's going to do his best to crush you to prove his manhood. But yes, I'm with you. Deion Dawkins will take him apart. Deion Dawkins weighs in at 320, 6'5". He does the actual training. You can see it right there. He knows what he's doing in the ring. Logan Paul has been a great social media star. He's not been a great boxer. So if he comes up against anybody that's got any actual boxing and or athletic skill, yeah, it's going to be a massacre.
Yeah, this is why I think Logan's best approach might be much like his brother in a boxing match. Take on old guys that don't do this anymore. Like Logan Paul versus Deion Dawkins isn't going to be a matchup at all. And you're right. It's reach, it's size, it's just sheer absolute physical domination at this point. Even when you think about the moments in a boxing match where everything slows down and you got two guys that are basically hugging themselves in the center of the ring to catch their breath. I don't want any of that smoke with Deion Dawkins. Like it just physically, his physical ability to just throw you around a ring. And again, it's a boxing match, not an MMA match. I get it. It's not a WWE match. That would also be a slaughter. But I'm taking Deion Dawkins in this all day, every day. What about if we go to the old guys? Maybe we go old school. He has a better chance on this. We saw him go head-to-head on his podcast with Tom Brady. All right, Paul or Tom Brady in a fight, in a boxing match. You can't put that glorious chiseled chin in a boxing ring. But if Tom Brady put it out there, what do you think?
You know what? This is one that I want to see, so much so that I would be willing to kick in on the purse for this one. I would kick in $50 on the purse. So it would be $1,050,000 for that purse right there. And I think this is one where I think that Logan Paul could tear Tom Brady apart like a chicken wing. I mean, I think that as well sculpted as Tom Brady is, I don't think he's in any way prepared for the physicality of an actual boxing match. I want to see this one. I want to see Tom Brady takes that beautiful chin into a boxing ring and see how it gets reshaped on the way back out.
Here's my theory. Brady walks into the ring. We find out that he's actually not a human. He really is a cyborg, and he presses a button, and he deflates himself. So, like, Deflategate happens at the center of the ring. He gets the $1 million, deflates himself. Logan's got nothing he can actually hit. Logan gets really exhausted. Now I'm doing full WWE work. And then when Logan turns around, Tom reinflates himself. Boom, takes him down. Like, this is the approach. You're right. Logan Paul would absolutely demolish Tom Brady, and also, again, I don't want to see that chiseled glass chin of Tom Brady's take it. How about this one? Instead, we'll give you this one. How about Logan Paul or Butterbean? We'll go straight to like old, forget the NFL players. Just give me big old fat man Butterbean hanging out right there. Logan Paul versus Butterbean. Who you got?
I mean, I think that Logan Paul would have a better chance of punching over a building than he would against Butterbean. Butterbean's like the old comic book character, the Juggernaut, man. He just cannot be stopped. He could just stand there and let Logan Paul tire himself out. So, yes, I'm taking the Bean in this one. So it's 3 for the other side, 1 for the Paul family.
Here's the thing, though, and all kidding aside with this concept, the couple of things that we have to acknowledge with the Paul brothers. They market themselves incredibly well. They know how to create events. Even when they get their asses kicked, they know how to create conversation. They know how to create events. They know how to create spectacles. I'm one that has said several times, I'm not sure Netflix is in the market anymore for sports. They're in the market mostly for spectacles. They want a reason people will tune in. The funny thing is, I would argue that Logan Paul versus Butterbean on Netflix will get more viewers than an actual real fight would any day of the week and twice on Tuesday. This is part of what's broken in modern boxing, is that, frankly, modern boxing doesn't sell itself. Maybe it can't be sold the way it did back in the wide world of sports days. Maybe boxing can't resonate to that same level. But I do think it's both humorous and sad all at once, Busby, that there's this real shot that Logan Paul versus any NFL player would become the most watched phenomenal boxing moment we've seen in a minute, not because there's anything quality there, but because, frankly, the boys know how to create spectacle. They know how to create conversation. They know how to create sort of a market around what they do. So it's interesting to me that even though I don't think the boxing would be good, the eyeballs would make it profitable for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, wrapping around all the way that we talked about at the beginning of the show with needing somebody to hate, the Paul brothers know that you hate them. They are aware of that. They revel in that. They want you to hate them because they will come and they will willingly take on your hate because they're taking on your dollars at the same time. Now, I do have a question for you as we wrap up here. You and I talked about how earlier, last night we suited up for the Golden State Warriors. What if you and I were to go and take on Logan Paul ourselves? Just the two of us in the ring against him. How do we do?
Oh, we get our ass kicked. I'm in the best shape of my life. I'm going to be honest, Busby. I'm in the best shape of my life. And I would not be, I'm nowhere, full, like I'm trying to get my abs to have abs. Like that's my goal right now. Like I work hard at the gym every day. And I'm like literally at this point, I'm proud of the fact that I'm 5'9.5" and weighing in this week at 158 pounds. But I'm 158 pounds at 5'9". Like Logan Paul would snap me. He would throw me like he'd look at me and I would probably end up. You'd have to take the punches. Like his punch might kill me. So you'd have to take the punch, and then I'd have to be able to run up and punch him back, which doesn't seem particularly fair to you.
Yeah. I mean, I'm taller than Logan Paul. I'm a little bigger than Logan Paul, but I'm not quite as muscled as he is. But what we can do is we can figure out a deal, just straight out of WWE. One of us has got to take the punches while the other sneaks in with a folding chair.
I've often said, look, if I could redo my entire life, would I get into music or sports? People ask me that all the time. Wrong on both counts. I would try and be the next Jimmy the Mouth of the South Heart. Like what the world really needs is me with the megaphone talking my talk. So what I could do is I could run around the ring in just a dashing suit, like straight 80s wrestling style.
Absolutely.
And I could talk the talk. And then I'm sorry, you're the jobber in this one. You're the one that gets your ass kicked. But then you know what? We leave the ring together. I comfort you while we leave the ring. And the whole time I'm leaning in and I'm saying, Busby, we just made $1 million. You win?
I'm in. We'll figure a way to spin it once I get out of traction.
That is 100% why Busby's amazing. Jay, thanks for hanging out with us for the last couple of days. It's an honor, pleasure, and privilege to share some time with you. As always, you are the best. We will be back right here, 9 a.m. on Monday morning, hanging out with you. He's Jay Busbee. I'm Jason Fitz. Come back, hang out, and see more Yahoo Sports Daily on Monday. Thank you so much for watching us. Enjoy a wild weekend. Come back and see us.